Hello everybody, how you doing? True Crime Metrics. We're going to be continuing looking through this Matheau Moore trial. My god, the fucking opening statements are like, I guess we know where the not guilty verdict came from. The state is weak, bad case. The defense attorney is just about so brutal. She's got me thinking, and motor mouth, my god, angry, real strong posture. She strikes me as being something of an idol or former mentor to Marissa Descalzo. Something about those two names I always get back to front, but it's okay. You know, just before we go to opening statements, I wanted to show you a little piece of just when Matheau Moore is greeting the first responding officer who is called to the residence after he reports his wife as being uncharacteristically missing. Oh my God. And then, just as the officer arrives to the door, out of the sort of corner of the screen, right in the peripheral, it turns out to be a neighbor. But for a moment, even Matheau Moore thinks it's his own wife. She looks so alike. And then the cop's like, "Is this your wife?" And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? You've reported your wife missing. The cop shows up immediately with your wife in tow. I mean, what a great service that would be. Love the cop too. Wait till you see him on the stand. He's just a classic. I love the guy because he loves his town. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why he does what he does. Day in, day out, all day, every day, any day. A good day on Metrics. Welcome back. It's good to be back. Nope.
Okay, so with
Hey, how you doing? My wife's missing. This her? Yeah. That's your wife?
How you doing? My wife's missing. That's not what I asked you. Put your hands on your head.
Oh. Okay. You look just like her for like a second. I was like, oh my god, there's you.
Did you see that? You look just like my wife for a second. I was like, oh my god, there she is. With the cop, as the cop shows up. How great would that be? Look, she's walking through the bushes. It's like the ending to a Julia Roberts movie. You know? Doesn't she always do stuff like that? What is it with Julia Roberts and walking through the bushes at the end? I'm sure that's a thing. With no shoes on, probably, because she's quirky. She's delightfully quirky. Aaron Brockovich was a great movie. Other than that, you know, Pretty Woman. What are you, fucking kidding? Runaway Bride. No thanks.
Okay. And more. Now, Officer Hollis. Hello. Celeste.
And she kind of walks in like a bit of a ghost. It's creepy. Everyone in this town is like some sort of goblin or something. I mean, this guy looks like, you know, a character from Harry Potter, right? It's Dumblebeard, Dumble Stumble.
Okay, so what's going on? She's
It would be like Hagrid's younger brother wouldn't it? Or former helper, or like a distant cousin.
I'm uncharacteristically missing.
Okay.
Her wallet's here. She carries her wallet. ID's in it. Some money. Her phone's here. Car's in the garage. I've been up since 10, probably.
10 a.m. today?
Probably. Guessing about that time.
Does anybody clock the symbol tattoo on his forearm? It looks like some sort of ritualistic blood cult symbol to me, possibly. We don't know. Check the files.
A little bit later than I usually sleep, and she's just...
What's he got there? That triangle thing as well. It's a meditation symbol, but also a tripping symbol, right?
I sleep in
Shit, where is it?
this room. I get up in the middle of the night sometimes to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't go back in there every time I go grab, so I don't finish my second bed. When I got up this morning, all I did was look on my phone, find my phone, and it said she was here. So I grabbed it this morning. Just figured she was in the other room. Eventually I got up, I walked around, she wasn't here.
What made you lost me a little bit. You said you got up, went to the restroom, and you went back to this room?
Yeah.
And then you looked on your phone to see if she was here?
This morning I looked last night.
Okay.
Yeah, last night, right? So what probably happened is they got separated because of drunk. Right? He made it home, doesn't even know how. Before her, he thought, she must be with that guy. I'm going to track her. And went on to track her, find my phone app, and fell asleep. She got back, and just to the sound of him snoring, crusts of white bread all over his chest, and falling onto the floor, just crumbs all over the couch again, right? Bought him that little handheld vacuum cleaner for Christmas, never got taken out of the box, did it? Fucking lying there in the corner of the fucking basement, ironically gathering dust. That it could vacuum up if it was ever taken out of the box, but he didn't touch it, not once. Not once. Just sat there eating his white bread and making vodka out of the crusts.
Because of my prostate, I don't know if you're that age of teen.
No.
I get up in the middle of the night and I can pee. So I can
Yeah.
So I wake her up, I just fall asleep on this couch.
Did you go to sleep with her?
Look at the neighbor or the friend, Celeste over there. Everybody in this town is like, yeah. Wait until you hear the twin sister of Emily who testified, first witness to testify. I mean, she comes across as someone who fucking makes their own homemade dandelion and burdock, okay? I don't know what's going on. It's like she definitely has at least between 50 and 60 scented candles just around her bathtub, right? Definitely. Essential oils. She's the kind of person that will, if you've got any kind of ailment, any simple ailment, sensitivity to light, phantom smells, whatever it is, she will run away and say, I've got an ointment for that. Homemade, that I made out of St. John's wort. Rub this on your chest. It only burns for the first 5 minutes. It's like, no, I've got a remedy for that.
Her?
Prior to that,
Okay. Did you call her?
I called, she's her best friend, and I just called her like, no, I've been
The best friend with the folded arms, right? God, she looks a bit stringy, doesn't she? I mean, get someone, get that woman a day of glamour, fucking pronto, right? Okay? No offense. Just a day of glamour. Come on. Let's all chip in. Why don't we do it? If we reach a goal tonight of 10 coffees, we'll reach out to this woman and see if we can arrange for her to have a day of glamour. Okay? Just shine her up like a new penny. Okay? Let's go with the support the glamour on buymeacoffee.com/true crime glamour metrics. Let's go.
I'll leave for a job. I called her. We were supposed to be at a party today.
What time was that?
Maybe something like that.
What time was the picnic supposed to start?
She didn't tell me. It was another day if we could get some time. She didn't tell me when it was going to start. I was just waiting for her to tell me.
All right, we did do this yesterday, so I'm going to go back to opening statements. Then we're going to say hello to the chat, the beautiful chat, the best chat. The judge is quite funny as well. He's so fucking old. Where's the judge? Let me just show you the judge. He's the kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that would interrupt a basketball game to say something like, say, did you ever see Stretch Maloney play for the old St. Louis Bombers?
Or there may be a question.
Back in my day, they used a two-handed set shot. Now that was basketball.
And that I rephrase the way that you posed the question. Or I may just ask the question as you presented it to that witness to answer it on.
Or it's like Adam West in a way. No, it's not Adam West, is it? I'm trying to remember who he looks like. There's an actor that looks just like that. Is it Sutherland? What's that guy's name? Is it Donald Sutherland? Let me look up Donald Sutherland. Is that the right guy? Could be. Well, I don't know. There's so many different pictures. I don't think it's. I think the glasses might be Donald Sutherland, but not the face. Not the face. No. Somebody else, but we can come back to that. Today, tomorrow.
Your behalf. So do not take anything from the fact that perhaps a question is not asked that you provided. As I say, there are certain rules that I have to address dealing with the questions posed to that witness. Again, I emphasize the question should be regarding.
Look at that ferocious brow. I mean, she's just steaming. The defense attorney there.
Solely the testimony of that witness. If there's something they said you wanted to be more clarified, or a question regarding their testimony you wanted fleshed out a little bit more, you certainly are entitled to ask those types of questions, but only to that particular witness. We will keep the questions, and again, I emphasize you're not required to ask questions. If just one of you wants to ask a question out of the entire panel, that's fine. If none of you have any questions, that's equally fine. So it's entirely an option, again, like taking notes, available to you that might assist you in developing and understanding the testimony and evidence as it is presented to you. All right, with that, we're going to begin our case. As you know, the first portion of the case are opening statements of counsel. Because the state has the burden of proof, the state can speak to you first, and then the defense will have an opportunity to address you as well. Opening statements are designed to give you a sense or a roadmap of what this case is about from the perspective of both parties. And they will share that information with you. And I think it's helpful to give you a kind of a context or a beginning to what this case is about. I do caution you that opening statements in and of themselves are not evidence. In fact, rarely anything a lawyer says is actually evidence. They ask questions of witnesses, and the answers of the witnesses
dirty,
are
lying,
evidence,
cheating.
but not the questions of the lawyer, unless the witness agrees with the question posed by that lawyer. Nonetheless, Opening statements are helpful to give you some perspective as to where we're going, but in and of themselves, they are not evidence. When the first witness takes a stand, that's when we begin the presentation of evidence in this case. Please give your attention to the representative of the state.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As the judge just stated to you, opening statements is our chance to give you a roadmap. I know that this courtroom's a little wonky right now, so I'll probably wander back and forth, so please don't mind me over here.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's up with the geometry layout of the courtroom? And is that Matt Groening sitting back there in the gallery? I mean, doesn't that... Hang on. Where's a picture of good old Matt, right? Right? Everybody loves Matt. Creator of The Simpsons has an interest in true crime. Good. We put it side by side. We just sit him down in the gallery next to him. Look, it's fucking brothers. Oh, it is him. Oh. Where is it?
Now, I'll be honest with you, when I first get a new book, one of the first things I do is actually read the last few chapters of the book.
No, you don't. No one's ever done that in their life, you fucking moron. And anyone that opens their court case with that analogy, which is an obvious lie, it isn't on to a good start, in my opinion. Listen, buddy, there's books I've never finished on purpose because I didn't want them to end. I couldn't deal with it. I was like, I don't even want to know. I want to not know. No one's ever done that. You know what I do when I get a new book? I go all the way to the end and then I read the last chapters, so I have no idea what's going on. And there's no climax because I haven't had the story build up in any way. No one's ever done that. I do that with trials. I like what we're doing with this. We already know it's a not guilty verdict. And that's why it's interesting to look back, right? Yeah, I just so much prefer that. You know? Yeah. I couldn't possibly attest to how much more I prefer to cover a trial when it's already happened. It's like, it's night and day. It's night and day.
Gives me an idea of where things are going to go. The ending is usually the most important part. It's usually the most exciting part. But what I've learned over the years is that that's
then I throw the book away. I read the last 2 chapters, then I think, well, I've already had the good bit, so what's the point in going back when I already know how it ends? I've wasted $15.99.
Because without an understanding of the characters, of the plot, of what's happening beforehand, the ending really can be far different than what you're reading in black and white and what you see in front of you. Now,
exactly. That's why people tend to start at chapter 1. You should try it sometime, freak.
what you'll see in this case, ladies and gentlemen, is that this is really no different than some of those books. The ending that you may just see if you were presented that today is not what it seems. And what you'll hear during the testimony, during the evidence in this case, is that there's a lot of things you need to be aware of about what happened before Emily Noble went missing. What was happening and what people were doing while Emily Noble was missing, and what happened afterwards. Those details are extremely important in this case, and we ask you to focus on those details as you hear the evidence. What we expect you to hear during the presentation of the next 2 weeks, when you hear the evidence, the testimony, is that you'll see the ending in this case. You'll see that this is a very real case. This isn't a book, this is very real. And it'll be clear to you.
The state prosecutor is trying to convince the jury in opening statements that this case is real. First, he spent 5 minutes going on about reading the end of a book and throwing it away. And now he's trying to demonstrate that this case is a real case.
What happened to Emily Noble? Emily Noble was born on...
It's funny because she was called Noble and Matthew's last name is Moore. So her sister said when they were, socializing and bonding, the sister said, I can't call you my older brother because I already have one, so you will be my more noble brother. Because it's a play on word of their last names, and that's pretty good, isn't it? I was going to call it the more noble murder or suicide, we don't know. But the court said suicide, and that is our source of truth, okay?
On May 24th of 1968. You'll hear from friends.
Actually, I should take that back, because the court didn't say suicide. They only said he didn't murder her, or you didn't prove that he murdered her. But actually, the defense attorney, the court, the jury, the prosecutor, obviously, all stand by the fact that it was a murder. The death in the the certificate of death, the manner is still listed as homicide, right? So he was tried for murder. The state said murder, murder, murder. The defense said it was a suicide. But everyone, agrees that it was a murder. It's still listed as a murder. They never went back and said, so it's kind of weird because if he didn't kill her, then who did? I mean, really? The motorcycle gang? Again? The Latin Kings?
His family, people that knew her, will describe me to her that she was outdoorsy, that she liked to forage for plants and herbs in various forested areas.
Various psychotropic hallucinogens.
The exact place that you went yesterday during your jury view, specifically, and I'll point that to you here in a second. You'll hear that she was outgoing and never met a stranger. You also hear that she was brave, and you'll hear ample testimony about Emily Noble's life. Now,
you know what she should have done? What anybody should do if they're in her situation. Instead of going to kill yourself by tying a phone charger around your neck, just sell your car and get a ticket to Brazil and go to the fucking Amazon and live in a tribe. Now, you might get killed by a poisonous monkey or whatever. One of those big Venus flytraps that's big enough to fit a whole man in, like in Jumanji, right? You could get lost in Jumanji. I mean, how long was Robin Williams in that board game? 27 years, right? 28 years? Let me think. It was 1995 when he got out, right? And what year did he go away? 67, right? I'm not 100%. I think he was gone for 27 years. I know it was 1995 when he got out because that's what the blonde girl said in front of Officer... what was the guy called, you know, who used to work in the shoe factory? The Soul Man? Carl Bentley. C. Bentley, the Soul Man.
You'll hear early on from some of the people most closely related that knew Emily the best. You'll hear from her sister that during this time period where most of the facts and circumstances of this case will be, which is May 24th, May 25th, and May 26th, that was...
May 25th, huh? That's Paul Weller's birthday. Happy birthday, Paul.
Special time period for both Emily and her sister. You'll find out through the testimony, and we expect you'll hear that today, that Emily and her sister were born 2 days apart, the 24th and the 26th. And so the 25th was the one date and time that they were the same age. And that was a special time for them and something that they seemingly celebrated almost every year. What you'll hear during the testimony in this case is, again, the experiences everyone had with Emily, and the one thing that I think will be prevalent is that she has undergone.
Doesn't he look like, and the dress and the hair and everything, like a manager at a Days Inn, and not even a good one in the middle of nowhere, a roadside Days Inn, right? And they don't even have managers at those anymore. There's a little machine. You have to check in with their app.
A large amount of tragedy in her life. And as you'll hear testimony, we expect you'll hear testimony that during all these trials and tribulations that Emily went through, she was brave, she persevered, and fought through. Now, we expect during the testimony that you'll hear evidence that Emily was previously married. The individual's name is Mark. You'll hear that at one point while they were married, Mark died in 2011, and that he committed suicide. What you'll hear is that, again, that happened in 2011, and we expect you'll hear testimony about how Emily dealt with that in her personal life, her friends and family that were around her at that time, and how she persevered through a very trying time in her life. We also expect that you'll hear testimony that both of Emily's parents died within a year of each other, in 2015 and 2016. And that, again, Emily, we expect you'll hear testimony, her reactions to that, what she did to work through those issues, what she did to work through that stress. And we expect you'll hear testimony from those individuals over the next 2 weeks. During that same time frame, Emily met the defendant, Matheau Moore. When Emily met Mr. Moore, he also had a son that he brought to that marriage, and that son's name is Joey. We expect you to hear testimony a little bit about Joey over the next couple of weeks. What you'll hear is that during their marriage, up until 2018, that leading up to their marriage, that there was a relationship between Mr. Moore and Mr. Noble, or Miss Noble and Mr. Moore, that they met each other, that they started a relationship. At that time, the defendant was living in Las Vegas, eventually came to Westerville, and that's where they lived in their condo at Abbey Cross. From that time period on, the two of them, as well as Joey, lived at that location, the location that you saw yesterday during your jury view. As I mentioned, you'll hear a little bit of testimony about their relationship during that time period, friends as well as family members that were around during that. Once the defendant was around, we expect you'll hear testimony from the witnesses over the next couple of weeks that some of those relationships that Emily had, long-standing relationships with friends, became strained, that they became less frequent. The more routine or even yearly get-togethers ceased happening, and that those relationships ceased to exist other than conversations occurring on the phone, text messages, but those yearly meetings and get-togethers that were so prevalent and important to many people became less frequent. We expect you'll hear that in 2019, tragedy struck Emily Noble once more. And that was when the son of the defendant, Joey, who was living there that Emily took a passion to, committed suicide as well. Now, what's important to note, and I expect the testimony that you'll hear over the next 2 weeks will demonstrate to you, is that Emily was proactive when these issues occurred in her life. She sought therapy, she talked to others. During this time period, after Joey committed suicide in 2019, we expect that you'll hear testimony that she took time off of work to be at home with the defendant, to work through what had just happened in their life, to seek therapy. And that towards the end of 2019, after doing those things, after being proactive, she continued to persevere and went back to work. Now, we also expect you'll hear testimony that leading up to that, and then going now into 2020, that Emily was making real changes in her life. She was changing her lifestyle, her diet, trying to be more physically fit, those types of things that she's been working through over the course of the years, and that she was making serious changes in her life and seemingly was in a good place based on individuals that were around her, speaking with her, and talking with her. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's information we expect you'll hear over the next 2 weeks, and I think that that is of paramount importance to understand the background and what is occurring prior to the disappearance of Emily Noble. And we expect that you'll hear ample testimony of that over the next 2 weeks. But ladies and gentlemen, you'll also hear testimony about May 24th, 2020, and May 25th of 2020. And that is the last time Emily Noble was found alive. We expect you'll hear testimony that on the 24th, which of course was her birthday, that she and the defendant went to a water spring in Bucktown, Ohio, which is about an hour and a half southeast of
Butthole, Ohio. Oh my God. What a place. I've heard of Butt Crack, Kentucky. Or is it Butt Creek? But Butthole, Ohio sounds more like a sort of weird Vietnamese sex game or something, right? With the ping pong balls, you get 1,000,000 points if you get it in the. You know, actually, was it Apocalypse Now or Platoon where, you know, when the soldiers were on R&R? I think that was one of the name of the club where they were going on the bar, you know, Butthole, Ohio. Ohio Butthole. I like it. Butthole, Ohio. Oh. Be kind to yourself, Ohio. I mean, you know, you've got a lot to be proud about. You know, there's Devo and hang on, Rain Man. That's where Dustin Hoffman was from. 400 Oak Street, Cincinnati. What else? Great facts about Ohio. Well, it's really just Devo and Dustin Hoffman is all I've got at the moment. But I've got a full open shelf, right? Ready to put all the great facts about Ohio on the shelf, right? And stack it up against any other state, right? It's one of the, you know, I mean, what else could you say? It's home to the, I mean, seriously, I looked this up once. Their only state monument worth mentioning on Google is a fucking Ronald McDonald's mannequin, a big one, outside one of their drive-thrus. People actually drive statewide to have their picture taken with it. I'll see if I can bring it up. It's a checked fact. I do the research, so you don't have to. True Crime Metrics support future research by becoming a member. A fantastic member. We've got over 20 members now. Look at that. And you could be one today. Like Daphne is. Like Pearl is. Hi, Pearl. And hi, Angel Roberts. Michael Stanley Band. Okay. Yeah. But they're no Devo.
Columbus. That they had plans that day. Eventually went back to their home in Westerville, in the what's known as the Uptown Westerville area.
I guess the Kent State massacre, you know, that gave Neil Young all the EBGBs to come up with that great riff, right? I mean, there's a whole great song called Ohio. Bum ba bum ba ba. You see? There you go.
Which is the little downtown area where there are many stores, restaurants, places you could walk back and forth, walk into. You'll hear that the two of them went to a couple of different establishments. Old Bag of Nails, Cobley, Jimmy V's. Again, these are restaurants that are located in Uptown Westerville. And that roughly around the time period of 7 p.m., a little bit before, they were back at their home on Abbey Cross in Westerville, the place that you visited yesterday. You'll see throughout this trial there were a few pictures taken from that day.
Bill Wilson, too, is Akron, Ohio. Yeah, what is it with Akron, Ohio? It's almost like Mount Sinai of the Midwest. Come to think of it, does Ohio even count as the Midwest? I guess so. Well, the west part does.
Pictures of Miss Noble, the defendant. And one thing that you'll note is that these are regular pictures, selfies. There's no injuries to the neck, face area, and that becomes important when we're looking at the timeline of events. And again, you'll hear testimony about this as we go through this case over the next 2 weeks. The next day, on May 25th of 2020, we expect you'll see evidence that it wasn't until 5:47 p.m.
Look at that cop behind him. I mean, how do you end up in that job? What do you do for a living? I sit in a courtroom with a load of heavy gear, sweating into my gear, and, letting my boxer shorts get into places where they don't belong. And then I go to lunch in the break room, eat a whole jar of Cornichon pickles, and go back to shift.
The defendant made a phone call to one of Emily's friends to say she was missing. It wasn't then until 5:54 p.m. that the Westerville Police Department was first notified.
Hey, look, Angel Roberts was born in Akron, Ohio. You could be the next Jesus. I swear, if he's gonna come from anywhere, it's Akron, Ohio. I don't know what it is about that place. It's got this thing, right? These great geniuses come from there. It's almost like the it doesn't matter. I lost the word.
Snowball and seeming
Because I'm not from Akron, Ohio, obviously. And I'll never compete with anyone who is. Will I? Give up, there's no point.
disappeared and vanished out of sight.
I still think that's Matt Groening behind there. Look, how mirror image is that? It's even the same, position that they're in. Same big open collar, right? Am I fucking, wrong or what? Their hair's a little bit... real Matt Groening is a millionaire. More money than $1 million. Way more, right? Simpsons. So obviously he's got nicer hair and a more expensive shirt. Wonder what that shirt cost new, huh? Probably more than 40, I bet.
What we'll ask you to do is focus on the timeline of events, and you'll hear testimony over the next 2 weeks. You'll hear
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Cleveland, Ohio. I don't know. Is it any good? That's the kind of thing that I would tend to avoid, just because it sounds like I would be really disappointed. I went to the Hard Rock Cafe once, and I was like, "What are you? What is this?" I just want one of the T-shirts, okay, and then I want to go.
here and see about
I'm going to be so upset by this experience that I'm never going to be able to fucking wear that T-shirt that cost me $30. Right? Everything about it was horrible.
camera from one of the officers today that originally came out to the scene and spoke to Mr. Moore. Expect that during that testimony you hear evidence that Mr. Moore was awake, according to his words, as early as 10 a.m. Again, as early as 10 a.m., the phone call made with the friend was at 5:47 p.m. We expect that you'll hear his story initially. That the two of them had came back to their house, slept together in the bedroom, that he woke up at some point at 1:30 in the morning, went and slept in another room, and then when he woke up, she was gone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see pictures of the house. You'll hear the statements made by Mr. Moore at the time, and what you'll find out during the testimony is that not only had Emily apparently disappeared, according to the defendant's own statement, but that was done without a note. You'll find out that she didn't tell anyone she was leaving. Her phone was left behind. Her ID was left behind. Her wallet was still at the house. Her car was still at the house. And that she seemingly disappeared after making the bed that morning. You also hear testimony that leading up to that weekend, Ms. Snowball made a dentist appointment for the following week. And that was not canceled. We also expect you'll hear testimony that nothing had changed with her employment, and seemingly everything was normal.
Seemingly.
What you'll hear during the testimony, during the body cam, as well as testimony from officers.
Talking about t-shirts, way less than 30. Look at that. Only 28. Only 28 left. You better reserve 6 for yourself and friends right now on Metrics Bonfire. Oh, well, I didn't put the link in the description. But if anyone wants a t-shirt, go and find them.
Officers and detectives from the Westerville Police Department is that the defendant's statements jump around. The timeline is unclear, his own timeline. Where individuals were is unclear. And that seemingly statements are made initially to control the situation. We expect you'll hear testimony of that today. Shortly after, actually that day,
it was a bullshit case that the state made, even though it might have been correct. Because the options are, right, he either killed her, or she killed herself, or someone else killed her, which he then guessed that they would set up to look like a suicide. The third option doesn't sound very likely, so let's stick with the original 2. She either killed herself, or he killed her and moved the body. Now, if he killed her and moved the body, he was really lucky for so many things. He probably didn't kill her, right? And Ohio, crazy old Ohio, just put him on trial, said we're going to take away your life. Must have been tense.
As well as going forward, you'll hear from numerous individuals that were part of the search process to find Emily Noble. We expect you'll hear through testimony that individuals that were part of that search process may have never even met the defendant. Some of them had met him one time when they initially went and got flyers very early on in the investigation, or when the disappearance first happened, but otherwise didn't see or even meet the defendant while these searches occurred for almost 4 months. You'll hear about these searches that police are involved, friends were involved, people that had never met Emily were involved because they wanted to do their part to help. They were searching close by, further away, woods, water, basically any area that they could think of. We also expect that you'll hear testimony over the next 2 weeks of some cell phone forensics that were done on the cell phones, attempts by law enforcement to put a timeline of events together. And again, as we go through that evidence, you'll see, or we expect that you'll see, the discrepancies that are occurring during this time period, not only leading up to Emily's disappearance, but also the night in question on the 24th and the 25th. September 16th, 2020. is when you'll find out that the remains of Emily Noble were first located. What you'll hear is that 3 ladies, one of which knew Emily, one was the sister of that individual, and then a third person that had never met Emily in her life, were searching a wooded area that was nearby the condo. That after searches that had occurred for the better part of 3, almost 4 months at that time, resulted in not finding Miss Noble. That searches more close by started to occur again, in places that were thought to have been previously searched.
Turn the light off so they can see that.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you went on a jury view yesterday, and what we expect the testimony will show, and I'm going to mark on the screen so that you have a chance to see where we're talking about. I put a red X on the location on Abbey Cross Lane. That's the location you first stopped at yesterday, the home of Emily Noble and the defendant. You'll see just to the west, there's another red line there. That little, what appears to be a street, is actually the bike path that you walked through yesterday. And then that wooded area to the west, that direction, is the wooded area that you'll hear about over the next 2 weeks. The area that Emily Noble was found was roughly in that area where I just placed the X there. Now, you'll hear testimony from the 3 individuals that found.
Wow, that's a good one, Angel Roberts, who says defense attorney was trial attorney for South Ohio hospital doctor who was charged with 12 murders of patients by giving too much sedation, like Grant Armato giving everyone the Michael Jackson propranolol drug. Are you adequately relaxed? If someone like Grant Armato comes up to you with that giant head and asks you, while holding a syringe, are you adequately relaxed? Jump out of the window immediately. I don't care what floor you're on. Go.
Emily, that they were walking down the bike path, walking in a westward direction. The woods became crowded. As you all witnessed firsthand yesterday, there's shrubs and trees and things all over the place, and it's not.
As you all witnessed when we went to the woods yesterday, that it was full of shrubs and trees. Kind of woody place. You noticed that, didn't you, jury? You're very astute. You noticed all those leaves and branches in the woods.
Readily apparent how to even get through the wooded area. But we expect to hear testimony from the 3 individuals that as they were walking in a westward direction, eventually they found the remains of Emily Noble, found what they were looking for. You'll hear testimony that they called Westerville police, and at that time, Emily was finally found. You'll see pictures of the scene taken from BCI. You'll see pictures of Emily and how she's situated. And what you'll see is that she was in a kneeling position under a tree that was about almost 6.5 feet tall. And was found with a micro USB cord wrapped around her neck. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that wasn't the end of the investigation. And you'll hear testimony towards the tail end of these 2 weeks about the physical examinations that were then done, both on the scene as well as Emily Noble's remains. What we expect you'll hear during the testimony from the 2 experts from the state is that Emily had bilateral fractures of the hyoid bone, which is a bone further up in the neck area. And they'll describe to you and show you where that bone is located, where the fractures were located. But bilateral meaning one on each side. So pressure on both sides. We also expect during the testimony you'll hear there are bilateral fractures of the greater horns of the thyroid cartilage, which is roughly an inch or so under in the same neck structures where the hyoid bone would be. And again, you'll hear testimony from a couple of experts demonstrating where that area is located on a body. You'll hear that there was trauma to the left maxilla, the nasal bones, the left side of her face, up by her nose, top of her lip area. And what we expect you'll hear during the testimony is that these injuries that are described were all perimortem, or at or around the time of death, as opposed to healing fractures that occurred earlier in time, or items that are, or injuries that would have occurred after death. And we expect you'll hear testimony in that regard from many witnesses over the next 2 weeks, those experts. Specifically of those experts, we expect towards the tail end of our case that you'll hear from Dr. Smock. And during his testimony,
Dr. Smock.
he'll go through with you his experience, his background, his education, and we expect that his opinion will weigh heavy in this case. We expect during the testimony you'll hear from Dr. Smock that Emily Noble did not die of an incomplete hanging, that the scene itself was not consistent with the injuries he noted, and that his belief is based on the location, the bilateral fractures, that the cause of death of Emily Noble was a manual strangulation. And we expect your testimony based on his experiences dealing with these types of cases, his educational background, why you will be able to make that finding and demonstrate that to you. We also expect Dr.
He's not convincing me at all. I mean, he has not said anything apart from bilateral fractures, and that there's an expert that's going to come in who's being like paid $500 an hour. I mean, you know, it's kind of a funny, with a case like, I don't know, the George Floyd, we've got to have a look at that sometime, because that was treated so carefully. It's probably the most thought about case in terms of the people working on it and the people, you know, monitoring it, and the court checking it and everything. I mean, it's very, because it was so, you know, cost a lot of money, those riots, you know. We have to be careful. It's like, and those kinds of political decisions get in the way of justice all the time, you know. I was doing some, well, I don't know if I should say now. I'll wait.
Dr. Smock will explain to you that based on the scene, based on the injuries, based on his opinion, this was a staged suicide, something that made it to look like a suicide. Again, if you read the end of that book and saw the pictures and saw Miss Noble the way she was, you may think one thing. But when you get a chance to hear about the characters and see the timeline of events and see the injuries and hear all this testimony, the ending is not what it seemed maybe at first glance, but it's far more complicated and far more real than that.
You know, we see this all the time when lawyers have obviously picked up these opening ideas from law school, right? These little analogy. You know, a friend of mine once said, if you read the end of the book, you'll know how it ends. but then you don't have the characters and any of whatever is going on. So you don't know what happens, really. You know, that didn't work at all. We saw the same thing with Christopher DeCoste when he went off on that big fake story about how when he was a boy, his father used to travel a lot for work, and he was on a long drive, and he saw he was going past a farmhouse, and he saw that there was this boy. There was like all these targets painted on the barn. So Christopher DeCoste is in the middle of closing arguments, and he says, he stops, interrupts, and says, you know, when I was a boy, my father traveled a lot for work, and he would drive almost across country, and he told me one day that he was driving past a barn somewhere in the Midwest, and he saw all these painted targets had been painted on the side of the barn with an arrow right in the center of each of them. And he went over, he had to see what was going on. He found this young boy with a bow and arrow. He said, how did you hit all those targets so perfectly? And the boy said to my dad, he said, you want me to show you? And he took out an arrow and he put it in the bow and he shot the barn, and he didn't hit a target. He just hit the barn. But afterwards he went over with a bucket of paint and he painted the target around the arrow. That's what the state is trying to do to my client, Tallahassee. They just keep painting the circles, brighter and brighter, bigger and bigger, around whatever target they want. That's what they do. They're liars. And that was kind of a lot more colourful of an analogy than this book thing. But again, it didn't really do anything. Jury's not swayed because of those reasons. Not unless they're 4 years old. We'll have to keep our eye out for a really good one, because they do exist. I can't think of one right now. Does anyone else know? What's one of these obvious little things that attorneys carry around in their pocket that they pull out at opening statement? You know, I gotta tell you, jury, when I read a book, I always flip to the last chapters before I even start the beginning. Which is so obviously untrue that everyone just immediately stops listening anyway, apart from Matt Groening at the back.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we expect that what you'll hear during the testimony as well is that Mr. Moore, from the beginning, was trying to control the situation. That he continued to stage this scene other than the physical scene that you saw or that you'll see occurred in those woods. And we expect that you'll hear during the testimony that Mr. Moore, the night of the 24th, going into the early morning of the 25th, that very important time frame in this case, that between 1 and 4 in the morning, he's sending messages to friends, stating he's taking a sleeping pill and that's probably going to sleep in. Again, I believe the evidence will demonstrate that from the beginning, Mr. Moore is controlling the scene and trying to stage what eventually will be located in those woods. That becomes of paramount importance when we believe you'll hear testimony today of Mr. Moore and comparing Mr. Moore's original statements to law enforcement about when he woke up, roughly 10 or 11 a.m., and that's inconsistent with some of the activity that occurred on his phone, demonstrating that he was awake far earlier than that, at 8:30 in the morning, and that he was awake even further in the earlier morning up until...
Okay, lawyer, have you never woken up at, before you're supposed to get up and just look at your phone? Because everyone does that all the time, okay? That doesn't prove that you're up murdering your wife. There was activity on his phone while he was still in bed. He was stoned out of his mind. Look at his beard. You know?
Until about 4 in the morning. So we expect that when you hear the testimony that there's a major discrepancy in the time frame. You'll hear a part of that today. when you hear the initial statements, as well as when looking at the cell phone forensics. Ladies and gentlemen, we expect you'll find out during the testimony that that's not all. That the defendant sent a text message to Emily just before noon on the 25th, used the Find My iPhone app, which is an application designed to try to find where someone else's phone may be, and that he did that in around noon hour on the 25th, instead of leaving the room that he was laying in, instead of walking through the house to see if Miss Noble was there. And again, we expect you to hear testimony that it wasn't for at least 6 hours after that before Mr. Moore finally called someone and said, "My wife is missing." Ladies and gentlemen, you'll see body camera footage from Officer Hollis today. Again, Officer Hollis is the responding officer on the scene. He came, had the initial conversations with Matheau Moore, and we expect that you'll see during that body camera footage that there's a specific area noted in the back of the garage that after some period of time, almost 2 hours after the report, Mr. Moore points to and says, "This is weird. This cord doesn't belong here." And what we expect you'll see during the body camera footage is that there have been things moved during the pendency of when Officer Hollis originally first comes on scene to when the defendant points this area out. Following that conversation and during that conversation, you'll hear that Mr. Moore says, "This area is weird. I haven't touched it, but this seems out of place to me. Somebody must have done this." But what we expect you'll hear is that this is just another example of the defendant controlling the scene, staging the scene to make this look like something other than what it was. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after 2 weeks of testimony, you're going to hear evidence about cell phones, physical evidence. You're going to hear about the parties, everyone involved. And we ask you to be diligent in your review. Diligent in your review of the timeline, how things go together, and diligent when reviewing this case and discussing. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we're going to ask you to see this for exactly what this is. And we're going to ask you to make a finding of guilty of the charge of murder. Thank you.
Thank you. Please give your attention for counsel for the defense. You're welcome.
Okay. This is a strong response to a weak start.
Keeping the lights at that level.
You just want the document.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Don't worry about him.
Good morning. As I introduced myself yesterday, Diane Menashe on behalf of Matt Moore, my co-counsel, Alexander Petrillo. The state, I just listened to them for about 30 minutes, and they told you their theory. Their theory is that Matt Moore killed his wife. Don't know when, but Matt Moore kills his wife, and then somehow gets her body into the wooded area where you walked yesterday and stages her death. And then I heard the state go on to say that their evidence will show how not just was he that sophisticated to figure out those two things, but he then also took great efforts to control the situation after May 24th and May 25th of 2020. Members of the jury, the evidence will show that the state's theory is based on speculation and inferences. It is not supported by the evidence. And simply members of the jury, their theory doesn't make sense. Now, I know you were listening to the state's opening just as well as I was, and the judge has already told you that our opening statements are not evidence. They are just how we believe the evidence will unfold. But I say this, that in my 30-some minutes of listening to the state's argument, I noted that they didn't mention reasonable doubt. That is their burden. Their burden is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And we talked about that in voir dire. It's their burden and their burden alone. And the judge has already given you the instructions of law, and he will again, which say, if the state fails to meet their burden, then the only appropriate verdict as to each of the 3 counts in this case is not guilty. And here's why I mentioned reasonable doubt, and that they didn't mention it, is because as the judge has told you, and as I talked about in voir dire, reasonable doubt is a doubt based on reason and common sense. And so
yeah, I heard the whole, it's based on speculation and inference before, okay? On any TV show, that's the first thing they say. And what I like about this opening statement is that it's so much stronger than the prosecution. But it almost says as little as the prosecution. It's like there's nothing here. And it just goes to show you can say nothing and make it convincing. She's just, what does she just say? Reasonable doubt is just that, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. A doubt based on reason and doubt. Reasonable doubt is a doubt based on reason and doubt.
I want to talk about this morning during my opening statement as to why it doesn't
You laugh now, but if Gregory Peck said that, you would be falling over your chair to vote not guilty. Right? Cue it up.
make sense that Matheau Moore, and I'll call him Matt, that Matt killed his wife Emily and then staged her suicide. First, members of the jury, the evidence will show there's no physical evidence. You will hear evidence the state will put on, we anticipate, that law enforcement extensively searched the area of 46 Abbey Cross. Not just Westerville Police Departments.
Hey, Donna Lynn, P. What does the P stand for? Something that doesn't sound like it begins with P, am I right? Like pneumonia. Donna Lynn P. What does the P stand for? Pneumonia.
But the Ohio
You don't have pneumonia, do you, Donna? Get well soon, Donna.
Bureau of Criminal Investigations was brought in. A unit whose sole job, members of the jury, is to look for forensics. They're there too. And it's not just the house. And when I say the house, members of the jury,
I actually appreciate that, Donna. I'm confident you have a very high IQ. It's been tested, and my high IQ is actually higher than Forrest Gump.
evidence will show that they searched the entire perimeter area. But the evidence will also show that exhaustively and extensively they searched the Ultima.
An Ultima. No wonder she killed herself. She probably had to take that thing for an oil change. And look at this, Subaru. Nothing sadder than a 12-year-old Subaru, is there? Apart from cancer and, famine. But that's it. It's cancer, famine, 12-year-old Subarus, in that order. And, who knows what can happen. Subaru's looking at second place and thinking it might be a good fit.
They searched the Subaru. They searched the attic with Matt's permission, by the way. Did they do all these searches? They searched the bedding.
Searched the bedding? What do you mean? Looked under it? I mean, did they take it all apart and take out all the feathers? Did they search each feather? I want every feather photographed. Is that, what kind is that? Is that Hungarian goose feather or duck down? What TOG rating does it have? They searched the bedding. They searched the bedding. I've just got this vision of that big fat black cop holding up the bedding and just, you know when you put the cover back on the duvet and you have to shake it to get it back on. Just like that's what he's doing. Oh, I bet he could stir up a breeze with that, huh? That'd be nice. It's a bit of a sort of forlorn looking room, isn't it? I mean, you might want to brighten it up a bit. How about some colour? They've hung up a picture of a sort of moody black and white tree scene. Are those trees? Could be. It's like, oh, great, got to put some pictures up. Add a bit of colour to my bedroom. What are you going for? Well, I got this nice black and white print. I've got an orange teddy bear on my nightstand. That's enough for me. Too much happy in here already. Oh, I like the matching night. What do you call them? Night lights. What do you call those? What do you call the night light stand? The nightstand light? What is that called? What do you call the little light on a nightstand? Donna will tell us. Or Just Suze, another member. Boom! Good to see you, Just Suze. How you keeping? How's work? Tell us about work, Suze.
The sheets that were in Joey's bedroom, where Matt Moore told the police the evidence will show he slept once he got up in the middle of the night and he had to go to the bathroom.
Fucking hell, this is a 15-year-old's room. Looks like he could be running an international business from there. Look at that big monitor. Look at that. That must be for all his spreadsheets and Google Docs, PDF files, contracts. Big money, baby.
He slept in that bedroom.
Whoa! Too much colour! This is why they had to get a divorce. Ah, you see, it's already very psychedelic. I knew they weren't going out there for fucking wild garlic and parsley. It's all the mushrooms, isn't it? Psilocybin. Yeah. Oh, I've just realised it's an elephant, isn't it? Tusks. Except one problem. His tusks are asymmetrical. I mean, he would definitely get made fun of, wouldn't he? Wonky tusk. Hey, Wonky. Come over here, Wonky. What you got for lunch, Wonky?
Bedding. They searched the bathroom, and this is why this is important. The evidence will show members of jury, and in particular...
Well, I bet that didn't take long. He better not been in there for fucking hours. Fucking handing in the timesheet. Yeah, I had to search bathroom all day. Chief of police comes in, the fucking cop's in there eating a fucking Subway over the sink. Whoa! Check out this lemon. My favorite lemon. A Suze lemon. Thank you so much for this super lemon, Just Suze. We love it. We love it. Great. Great. I had a lemon today, squeezed in water. That was good.
What was in the hamper in the bathroom, because they searched this too. The evidence will show that the clothing in the hamper is the same clothing that Matt Moore and Emily Moore were wearing on her birthday the night before, when she's last seen.
Well, he did say that they went home and had sex, you know, and they did tests on his beard that was all still wet. So, you know, they probably took their clothes off at the same time, right? And after they'd thrown them all around the room, thought, we better pick that up.
And so what comes of all these searches that were made by law enforcement, not just at Westerville Police Department, but also for BCI&I? The house, the cars, the attic, the clothes. The evidence will show you that there's nothing. There's no blood, there's no tissue.
The evidence will actually show you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that there is no evidence. That's the evidence that we're talking about. You see what I mean? You can say anything in the right way, and it doesn't matter about the content. Delivery wins over content, right? Confidence wins over facts. What does that tell you? You don't have any limitations. You only have the ones that you make up for yourself and put in your own life because you're scared of change. Sorry, wrong meeting.
There's no fibers, there's nothing. But the evidence will show it wasn't just people that searched all those places that we just went through. It was also cadaver dogs. Cadaver dogs that the evidence will tell you are trained specifically to come to a scene, a location, and alert when they smell or detect either blood, tissue, or any smell of death. The cadaver dogs, in addition to humans, searched all the areas I just told you about. And what will the evidence show that the cadaver dogs found? Nothing. There's no physical injuries. And when I say physical injuries, I mean to Matt. He calls the 911, as the state has said, on May 25th and reports that his wife is missing. I want to pause there, though. He calls 911, brings the police to his house.
And to be honest, his 911 call doesn't sound very, fishy to me. It sounds about right for someone who is probably reluctant to call the police. I mean, I wouldn't want to call the fucking cops if some woman was missing. I would enjoy the time alone, right? I'd be like, okay, she must have gone out to take space, which gives me space, yeah. Just enjoy the quiet. Just enjoy the quiet. Don't call the fucking cops. Give her a week to cool off.
The evidence will show certainly that that's what a 911 call does. Common sense tells us that. They get there, and then within 48 hours, they ask my client, Matt, to come down to the police station and give a statement, and he does. He goes to the police station, and when he's there, two of the detectives say, what about scratches or injuries on you? The evidence will show that Matt Moore takes off his shirt, not at the direction of the state, but he takes off his shirt. Now, before he takes off his shirt, of course, his face is exposed, and you're going to see a body cam video of Officer Hollis, and you will see what Matt Moore is wearing when the officers arrive. And you'll see which parts of his body are exposed. So he takes off his shirt. Officers lean in. Hands, forearms, chest, neck, face, back, legs. What did they find? Nothing. And consider this evidence, members of the jury, or the lack of evidence, particularly after you went to that wooded area yesterday. The judge is correct to say that your jury view in and of itself is not evidence. But it is, as the judge told you yesterday, something for you to consider when you hear the evidence that's presented. Think about how hard it was to get down there. And I even just wrote what the state said in their opening about that area. It was essentially shrubs and trees, not readily apparent it's even there. Now, members of the jury, again, our statements are not evidence, but what the state says they will give to you to meet their burden, hold them to it. Because as they started this morning, that is their roadmap. So there's no physical injuries on Matt Moore. There's no time of death in this case, members of the jury. The state has alleged, and the judge read you the charges, and the state has just stood up in his opening and said that on May 24th and May 25th of 2020, Matt Moore killed his wife, and then there's also a charge of felonious assault, but there's 2 counts of murder and felonious assault. The dates are the 24th and 25th. There is no witness. There is no expert. There is no police officer. There is no lay witness that can or will give you the time of death. And I remember in voir dire yesterday when I was talking to the veneer about dates and attention span, and I remember saying dates are incredibly important in this case. The dates we know are the date that Emily went missing. The last she was seen is by a neighbor that lives across from 46 Abbey Cross, where you went yesterday. In fact, a neighbor that lives directly across the street. He sees Emily going for a walk that morning in her walking clothes. And we know the evidence will show, evidence that we will present, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But we know that he definitely saw Emily on the 25th and not any other date, based on the cell phone evidence. So there is no time of death. We know that Emily went missing on March 25th is when she's last seen by someone other than Matt Moore, and we know that she's found on September 16th. We do not know when she got to the park or how she got to the park, but with respect to time of death, there is no information that the state will offer you as to that at any point in this trial. We will, however, present expert from University of Tennessee, who is a researcher at an institute called
the University of Tennessee. In what? Jug blowing? Banjo isn't a subject, okay?
body farm. And in fact, it's an expert that the state originally engaged in this case, and then the evidence will show decided not to use after she rendered a report.
Objection.
And Leslie, if you're out there, I'm only kidding. I love Tennessee. You know. What is it called? Not bluegrass. What is it called? If Kentucky is the bluegrass state, Tennessee is the... shit. What is it? It is... fuck, I don't know. Well, somebody tell me in chat. Does anybody have knowledge?
Fair characterization.
Ladies and gentlemen, opening statement is not evidence, so therefore you will not consider statements as evidence to render your decision in this case. Please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Vivaldi is an expert from the University of Tennessee. She will testify that the most you can tell from the scene, based on her training and expertise and her work.
It's volunteer. It's the volunteer state, which I definitely would not have guessed. I don't think I've heard that before. Maybe it's got another one. Isn't it the country music state? That sounds familiar.
Studying decaying corpses is that the
Or the live country music state. It's like, yeah, fucking hell, we know. Nashville, shut the fuck up. Just kidding.
body decomposed there and had been there for a while. There is no time frame that even the best expert can put as to where and when Emily got to that scene. Furthermore,
Is that why Matt Groening's here? Is he a subject matter expert? He wants to describe how long it would take to murder someone in a cartoon. He's going to have an example with what's his name? Mr. Burns.
not only is there not a time of death, but the evidence will also show that there is no trace of Emily in that wooded area in May or June of 2020. And I want to go over some maps with you. And I know, members of the jury, you were there yesterday. I'll start with this. This, as the state just showed you, is the map of the general area. To orient ourselves, this is kind of the general area right here where Emily's found. And as you are walking up that sidewalk, you might remember seeing an electrical box on the ground. That can always orient you in the pictures that you will see. But that's the general area right there where Emily was found. And yesterday, of course, this right here is the bike path, walking path. And this, of course, is County Line Road.
I mean, it does seem like a strange place to go and kill yourself. I mean, they kept saying, oh, she loved nature. She went to nature. I mean, really? I mean, that's not nature. That's a few trees in between some houses, okay? If you're gonna go to nature as supposedly not just for privacy, but for solace, solitude, connection with the Great Spirit. They were super into that. We're talking dream catchers, we're talking shamanic maracas. Ooh.
Want to talk to you about when I say the evidence will show there's no trace of Emily
Double boom. Lock and load.
in the woods or May or June. You are going to hear testimony that on the 25th, when the police arrived at the house, Matt Moore voluntarily said to the police officers, "Let me take you to the area where Emily loved to walk and forage." Where did he take her? Where did he take the police? Right there. Their own officers will have to admit to that Matt, as the evidence will show, walked them along this very line. And then what happened, well, the evidence will show that area, that exact area. In fact, the police...
You know, did this case walk into this woman's lap, or is she that good? Because she's doing pretty well. It wasn't much of a fucking opener from the state for her to beat. Very weak. Guy went on about reading a book backwards for 20 minutes. I mean, what the fuck was that? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I gotta confess to you, sometimes when I buy a new book, I read the last few chapters first. No, you don't. You don't. That's a lie. And now I've stopped listening because I'm thinking, why would you make up a stupid idea like that? He's trying to say, yeah, no, it's good to know the end. It's good to think you know the end. But until you go all the way through from the beginning and look at all the characters involved and their independent journeys, you don't understand the end. That's why we're here, jury. It was pathetic. And there was no other content other than that. I mean, it wasn't like that was the first introduction that he fucked up and then went on to hardcore evidence. Far from it. There was nothing. And then defense. Defense came in with this and just started also not quite equally vacuous, but close. Devoid of content, devoid of any meaningful content, right? But said in the right way, said with conviction, said with truth. Well, not truth, confidence. And confidence is truth.
Will not only concede this during the evidence of this case, but they have all along in this investigation. They searched this area on foot 3 times. 3 times in May and June, and nothing. But like with the house and the car and the attic, it wasn't just humans.
Hey, wicked. We're over the Atlantic, everybody. How fascinating. That's the first time that's ever happened to me consciously. We are hitting a plane. Awesome. What is it? Is it a 747 or an A380? We hope you went Boeing and didn't go with those no good Airbus. Yeah. Excellent. Welcome, Spacey Dove. And what else can you say? In fact, I think this is the first time I've ever spoken to someone on a plane or known that someone can hear me, at least, while they're on a plane. Wow. Must be good service. Or I guess on transatlantic flights, they probably have Wi-Fi right there in the plane, right?
Because cadaver dogs searched that area too. The evidence will show, and what was found when cadaver dogs went to the area where Matt Moore took the police as Emily's favorite walking path? Nothing. The evidence will also show the individual that lives at that house right there, whose kids play in the back of her house. But
Airbus, you see, when I used to live in Toulouse, it was everybody in Toulouse works at Airbus, literally. Even the people that work in the bars and the cafes, that's only part-time. Their real job is Airbus, and it's just annoying. A taxi driver. Airbus. I'm a taxi driver. Who do you work for? Airbus. It's ridiculous. But good luck. Good luck. We love Airbus. We love any BOAC.
right up to that wooded area. Was home all Memorial Day weekend. Whether the weather was warm, the evidence will show. She saw nothing. She smelled nothing. No trace of Emily in the woods in May or June.
No trace.
Furthermore, the evidence will show that there's no evidence that connects Matt Moore
I love how this woman's argument is essentially, the evidence will show that there is no evidence.
To the scene. The state has just promised you
I think I should put that on a mug.
that they will give you the testimony of Detective Hollis. And I believe that will happen today, and you will be able to see the body cam of Detective Hollis when he rolls up onto Abbey Cross on May 25th
Love Detective Hollis.
interacts with Matt Moore.
Really helps his community.
The state in their opening talked to you about this corner of the garage. The Detective Hollis body cam will also show you something else that's interesting. Is that in the camera, in the footage, the police are, from the beginning, telling Matt that he's a suspect, that they know they killed his wife. Right from the beginning. And so why is this important? Is because the evidence will show that if that's what the officers were thinking, that common sense and the evidence supports, they didn't lose sight of that guy. They did not lose sight of him. Not mentioned, but the evidence will show that on May 25th, because not only did they not want to lose sight of him, they didn't want to lose track of him. They put a GPS on his car without him even knowing. Because that's the whole point of a GPS, right? Put it on someone's car so they don't know we're looking or following, so that we could trace their every move at any minute of any day. What did they find from the GPS? Nothing. Further, not only is there no movement from Abbey Cross and Matt.
What do you think that cop, that sheriff, that, what do you call him? Deputy. Bailiff, that bailiff there, what sort of flavor ice cream do you think he likes? All of them. all in one big bowl. You take him to 31 Flavors, you'll be in there for 6 days. Yeah. He won't stop until he's... And I'll have to go back and have a second bowl of the favourites to narrow it down, right? I've got down from 31 to 28. Round 2. No, I'll see you next week. Yeah, tell my boss he can keep the job.
To that scene is that the
I'm gonna be a
items
food
found
critic.
at the scene, forensically tested, in particular the USB cord that Emily had tied around her neck.
The micro USB cord, not even a phone charger, like for a digital camera or something, a really thin one. I mean, could that be why he kept saying, she's tiny, guys. She's 100 pounds soaking wet, probably 5'2". He kept saying it over and over and over again. And that big orange extension cable, that doesn't live there. That's not where that goes. It doesn't go there. It wouldn't be there. I didn't put it there. Somebody put this here. Yeah, he really wanted to get that on film, didn't he? I mean, sometimes it could be right. But if she was in such a rush to go and kill herself, why make the bed that morning? Why make the bed? His whole point was she would never leave something out of place, but she left that orange extension cable out of place, but didn't leave the bed out of place when the bed would have probably happened before. I mean, what set her off, apart from coming down the stairs again and seeing this guy, full beard, snoring on the sofa, chest covered in white bread crumbs, handheld vacuum cleaner she bought him for Christmas, unused, not even taken out of the box, ironically gathering dust on a shelf in the basement. It was supposed to be the crumb buster, and it did nothing. Nothing for the house, nothing for the relationship. I wonder where that vacuum cleaner is now. He probably doesn't even know, does he?
What forensics are on the USB cord connecting the cord to Matt? Nothing. Further, there's no eyewitnesses. And I don't just mean eyewitnesses to what they claim is the murder, to the transportation, allegedly, of a body to a wooded area. There's no eyewitnesses to putting a body in there. And members of the jury, again, I say this. I know the judge told you.
That's the same as transportation, exactly, right? But she makes it sound like two different things, strengthening the weight of her evidence. There's no evidence to transportation, alleged transportation, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, huh? And then she goes back and turns a page to make it look like she's going on to something else, comes back and says a variation of the same thing, which is, there's no evidence that he put a body in there, jury. I mean, that's great. That is controlling the the volume, right? And I don't mean the loudness. I mean the quantity. Whatever, it's making 2 out of 1, and it's doing it well. Because if you just said it without going back to the podium and turning the page, it wouldn't give the jury that thing that they need to hold on to that tells their brain this is a new and independent, relevant piece of evidence. Fantastic. Love what she does. Love what she does.
Your jury view wasn't evidence, but it's certainly for your consideration. You walked county line. You were able to feel and observe the amount of traffic on that road. You were also able to feel and observe whether there is a place where you can park on that road next to the wooded area. But there's no eyewitnesses. And certainly there was no eyewitness given by the state in their map. There's also members of the jury, the evidence will show no motive. And I know we talked about this yesterday in voir dire, that the state under Ohio law doesn't have to give you motive. And I completely agree with that. I also, though, as the judge will tell you, agree that there is a further instruction, that the absence of motive can be used by you in your determination as to purpose or intent. And the judge will tell you more about that. But it's critically important. Now, in the state's opening, they talked about Emily's bravery and her persistence. Joey, Matt's son, at around the age 18, hung himself with a cord in a wooded area about 1 mile from Atticus. About 10 months prior to Emily being found in a wooded area with a cord around her neck. There is no question that Joey's death was a suicide.
Any way this case plays out for this guy, Matheau Moore, guilty or not guilty, everyone around him kills themselves. His son, his wife, her ex-partner, his sister. There's so many angels of death in this story. It's hard to tell where all the death is coming from sometimes. Maybe he's just really, really boring and enthusiastic about things that others don't care about, like bread sandwiches. Bread in bread with mayo, we're done. That's the kind of thing that this guy gets excited about. and wants to tell others. I mean, as if they're interested, and he totally misreads that they are and thinks that they're enjoying his story. Possibly a little bit like what I'm doing now to you.
That's what the evidence will show. His death was a suicide. And I remember during voir dire, one of the jurors said, second most common death of juveniles is suicide, and Joey was a victim of that statistic. And the state actually and I will agree that Joey's suicide and hanging was particularly troublesome to both Matt and Emily. Both of them, neither of them could work. Emily took a 3 to 4 months absence from her job. Matt, well, you'll see there's text messages between Emily and Matt. Matt really was at a place in his life where getting up every day and just even doing things of normalcy was well, seemingly impossible.
He's always been in that place. He didn't need his son to die for that to happen. That's just him. Matt was at a place in his life where getting up and, going to work wasn't really a viable option. Well, what else is new? He was the same at school.
And the evidence will show that. And then the state talked about what Emily did, was that Emily then went to counseling in August of 2019 because of Joey's death.
Riding Shotgun says best ways one can support the channel, True Crime Metrics channel, with PayPal, buy me a coffee. Well, don't forget memberships. I mean, that's what we want to do now. We want to be YouTube's bitch. Okay? We want to be a good bitch to YouTube, because then YouTube will be a good bitch to us. So be my bitch on YouTube at True Crime Metrics membership. Click the button when you find it. It says like or subscribe. Join. That's what it says.
And members of the jury, you will hear that when she goes to counseling, she goes because she is traumatized by the death and loss of Joey. She reports difficulty feeling sad and empty and guilty. She's paranoid about her husband's well-being. She's struggling with loss of interest in activities, with memories. She notes in her therapy that she has a prior history with struggling with anxiety. And members of the jury, the evidence...
What is this? What happened here? Donna Lynn P says, riding shotgun. Good question about the milk in the tea. First or after? I change it up to experience which is better. There's no options here, people, at all. I got to see the original conversation. Not that I need to. I see. Okay. So it says, space, have your sister settled the argument? Does the tea get poured first or the milk? Guess metrics should know too. It's after. Okay? Tea bag, water, milk. And not even that much. But if you're having high tea at the Dorchester, perhaps it's different. But then you have to have cucumber sandwiches with the cut into small triangles with the crusts cut off on those plates that are all stacked up high. What is that all about? And those little cakes. If you have to wear long-sleeved silk gloves to go and eat cakes, why not? Why not? I don't know what they do there, though. I don't know. But I do know that there's only one way to make tea, and that's milk after. Yeah.
Evidence will show she has a history of struggling with anger prior to the loss of her other loved ones. And she's starting to experience depression and notes that she's experienced depression before.
Anger, depression, death. I mean, yeah, well, that's why she was dressed all in black all the time, which is the same as the attorney. I mean, and they do that sometimes as well, don't they? I think we saw that a bit with in the Ali Abulaban case, the prosecutor, in that case it was the prosecutor, actually almost looked like the victim that he murdered, Anna, the lovely young wife. I'm sure that's a thing. I'm sure, and I've spoken to a couple of lawyers that have been to law school about this, and they say it's not really a thing. But I say they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It is a thing, even if it's not taught as an actual syllabus. There's got to be, what do you even call it? Sub courses. What do you call it? Breakout courses, workshop courses, some side syllabus that covers the psychology of what lawyers wear. We see defense attorneys wear white sometimes. Not today. She's all in black, which suits her. But to create that image of angelic innocence, right? To paint all over their client. And then what other good ones are there? The Jodie with Wilmot, what was her name? Jennifer Wilmot. They dressed very alike. We often see the defendant trying to look like an attorney. Apart from fucking Corey Richards, I don't know what the fuck she was dressed up as. What was that? It was like, someone had put her in the, what do you call it, the church dress-up box. Do you remember that? Is that a thing in the States? There's a box, for some reason, at the back of the church with a load of old clothes in it from some disgusting old man that died. I mean, what is that? And that's what you give to children to fucking dress up in? Death clothes that haven't even been properly washed. It's just a fucking cesspit of disease and decay and rot. Where any child would be happy playing, I'm sure. Disgusting.
The state in its opening talked about Emily's traumatic life. And I say this...
Yep, thanks so much again, Just Suze, for the 20 lemons on True Crime Metrics.
There's not a lot of things that the evidence will be agreed upon by both sides in this case, but certainly that's one that I agree. Emily's first husband killed himself by shooting his head in 2011. A year later, in 2012...
Killed himself by shooting his head. I've never heard it described like that. He killed himself. Oh, what did he do? He shot his head. You say he shot himself in the head, right? That's how everyone's always said it, always. No one's ever strayed from that core sentence. He shot himself in the head. He blew his head off. He blew his own head off. He put a gun in his mouth. He blew his brains out. There's a few variations, but not once in history, in any history, has anyone ever said he shot his head. I gotta go back and double check that, because that is weird. Does no one else think that's weird?
And I say this, there's not a lot of things that the evidence will be agreed upon by both sides in this case, but certainly that's one that I agree. Emily's first husband killed himself by shooting his head in 2011.
by shooting his head. I don't know, is that what everyone else heard? It's confusing. He killed himself by shooting his head.
A year later, in 2012, the evidence will show one of her very good friends killed herself. The evidence will show that. In 2017...
Oh, is Udi here? I don't know, but he likes this case apparently. Let me read his comment, even in his absence. I'm sure he won't mind. Where is it? Udi says, music by Brian. Music by Brian says, so glad you covered this. I remember watching this trial when it happened, and I felt like he should be found not guilty, and then it came back not guilty. A huge relief. Thing is, the prosecution did not have the evidence. And the defense attorney was absolutely fantastic. She really is one of the best attorneys I've ever seen. I really can't say for sure he didn't do it, but that means he has to be not guilty. Yeah, and like, it doesn't look like he did. I mean, I know there was some weird stuff yesterday, but sometimes people are weird, right? And he's weird. But that's probably because of all the nettle soup and, whatever else they do. Fucking hunter-gatherers. What are you doing this weekend? Oh, foraging. Do you want to come? No. Yeah, we're going to do a hunter-gatherer workshop and learn about bushcraft. Yeah. It's good. It was good. They're good at the last one. I carved this wooden spoon, and then he holds up this block of wood that, isn't really finished, and he calls it a spoon, but it's barely even a fucking stick. The round bit on the end, not what do you call it? Not hollowed, but just carved, I suppose. Crook carved. That's what you need, a crook knife, yeah.
Her brother-in-law, by marriage, so Mark's brother, kills himself. In 2019, Joey hangs himself in a...
Okay, I really feel like there needs to be a fucking diagram on the projector for all the fucking people that killed themselves in this story. There's too many of them. Every single group, there's like, no, they murdered their own body. He shot his head. Oh, I love that. I'm putting that on the wall at least. We'll think about a mug. He shot his head. What that looked like out of context. Probably pretty good. But will it be good enough? He shot his head. I love that for some reason.
Apart from a tree. Trauma is almost an understatement as to what Emily had lived through. There is no question about that. But Joey, her stepson, and again, our openings aren't arguments, but the state said Emily was passionate about Joey. And the evidence will certainly support her passion and love for Joey and what that loss in 2019 did to her. Emotionally and physically. And then, members of the jury, at the end of 2019, you will see that she unexpectedly stopped counseling and therapy. And instead, she turned to what Emily knew so well, which was trying to find peace in nature and the woods. She would walk daily, she would forage, she would go into the woods. You will hear that Emily and Matt were kind of a bunch of hippies.
She would forage. For what? Do you get a good haul from Ohio? I mean, I guess it was May. That's when all the berries are coming out, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's when all the berries are coming out.
They would woods. She would walk daily, she would forage, she would go into the woods. You will hear that Emily and Matt were kind of a bunch of hippies. They would collect plants, nettles, they would dry them in the garage. You're going to see pictures of this. They
would design their own sandwiches and have, stupid conversations about how they were going to market this to millions of Americans worldwide. What would he call the name of his sandwich shop? It's the kind of guy that, he would win the lottery, and the only thing he's ever wanted is his own sandwich shop that he can run. Just not even a fancy one, just like a simple neighborhood place where people get fed, right? Special design sandwiches. He'd do seasonal, wouldn't he? Different ones at Christmas, different ones at Halloween. Pumpkin cinnamon bread with fresh strawberries and cream. Toasted.
They like to forage for their own food, despite them living in Westerville, Ohio. She went to nature, the evidence will show, to find peace.
Oh, here come the waterworks.
And of course it was nature where she was found.
I remember the foraging. We used to forage together for hours in the woods. Blackberries and, great. Fresh blackberries straight off the bush. Who doesn't like that? Nice and kind of taut, right? Is that the right word? Taut. Tart. Taut. Make a tart. Yeah, but once you get a load of blackberries, you come back, you make some fucking jam, right? And that lasts for fucking 6 years. How much jam did we get? 32 cases. So even after we give one jar to all our neighbors and friends and family members, we're still going to have 28 cases left. So that's all the jam we need forever. Well, that was a good haul. So you want to do this next week? No, me neither. Yeah. Let's go back to ignoring each other and staying in our own rooms. Watching our own independent YouTube selection. And liking that we don't feel like sharing it with one another. Can we just do that like a normal couple, please? This foraging was fun. Once.
On September 16th of 2020. Members of the jury, there's also no evidence of staging. I certainly listened to the state's opening that their theory is that...
The good news about these memberships, guys, I have had it reported from newly joined members that some of them have woken up the next day after becoming a Metrics member and just been aware that they felt a little bit better, right? Without even really knowing why. And then they start their day off well, smile at a stranger on their way to work, who in turn perhaps bends over and picks up a piece of trash, volunteers at a soup kitchen, and like ripples in a still pond, the happiness spreads. And you right now, who aren't a member yet, can join that journey as we march together, towards another step for world peace. Be part of the solution. Be part of the solution. The solution is metrics. Become a member today. Join the membership. Where's our banner? No? Oh, yeah, that's the coffee banner. Pinto, congratulations. Someone, congratulations. Monica. Where is Monica? Someone go and drag her out of her... She's probably been attacked by ravens or other winged beasts. What was I going to put on the screen? This one. Boom. Even better. Look at that. Become a channel member today on YouTube. Metrics YouTube. Memberships. Join now.
Matt kills her, takes her to the wooded area, and then stages her death. And this is why, as you listen to this evidence, I ask you, members of the jury, to really use your common sense. Because the evidence will show that Emily is found in the position where you stood yesterday. Under that branch, she's found with her water bottle next to her. Her hair is down. We know that because the way her hair is matted when she's found. Her hair is down. Hair tie around her wrist. She's in her walking clothes. And hair tie around her wrist, I just say, is because we know that the last person that saw her leaving for a walk. She's in clothing that, as you look closely, right, is clothing that you would wear when you're walking. And you don't even need to look closely because the evidence will show she has her tennis shoes on. Not the shoes or the clothing that she's seen in the night before. And the evidence will show there is no question as to what Matt and Emily were wearing on the night of the 24th, on her birthday, because we have pictures, selfies, that they took of themselves at the bar as they're celebrating her birthday. And here's...
Great way to demonstrate the not arguing thing, right? That they took of themselves. Drunk. Pretending that they were having a good time. See, we're having fun. Let's smile for this picture so we can look back at this moment and...
Something else with respect to the evidence will show about about the staging is that as Emily's found, her right hand is gripping her ankle. You will hear evidence about the difference between a complete hanging and an incomplete hanging. But members of the jury, there is no evidence that that scene was staged. And then lastly, I want to talk about where the state ended.
Yeah, it's okay.
Sort of the last chapter in their book.
It's okay, Spacey. She's probably right here sending love hearts into the chat. Let's send a few back. Look, they'll start coming in now. She does that. And we love it.
Because they're experts. I noticed in their opening statement they spoke a lot when they talked about their experts about Dr. Smock. And as you listen to the evidence in this case, the evidence will show that Emily goes missing on the 25th. She's found in September 16th of 20. Almost a year goes by before Matt Moore is charged. Living in this community, out on the street, almost a year. And so what happens, will the evidence show, right before he gets charged? Again, timing is everything. Dr. Smock is engaged by the state and he issues a report. As you listen to the testimony of Dr. Smock, I ask you, members of the juries, to consider three things. First of all, what he relied upon in determining his conclusions. His field of expertise and the opinions that he can and cannot render. Because members of the jury, I heard the state in their opening say, quote, and then please always trust your notes over mine. Dr. Smock will tell you the cause of death was manual strangulation. I ask you, members of the jury, to wait.
Dr. Smock. Doc Smark. Dr. Smark will tell you that the manner of death was manual strangulation. All right. It was kind of similar to hanging, wasn't it? Yeah. How are you going to tell the difference on a 6-month-old decomposed body? I mean, that's the only thing he had to test because of the bone. Yeah, the bone was broken and it had his thumbprint on it. That doesn't work. This was a bad case. He probably didn't even do it.
Until Dr. Smock's testimony, because the judge will tell you that's what jurors have to do, is to be open-minded and wait till you hear all the evidence.
And the state said that she wouldn't have killed herself. She just had her birthday. Birthdays are happy times. Yeah, but did the state know that her friend didn't text her happy birthday until 6:30 p.m. on her birthday? I mean, that's just cruel. I mean, if you're going to wait that late, just don't fucking bother, okay? We're not friends. Clearly.
Dr. Smock himself, under oath.
Dr. Smock sounds like a fucking character from Dr. Seuss. Dr. Smock liked to put a clock in his box and always wear socks when he was chasing the fox. So was the days of Dr. Smock. Who's sending love hearts? It could be, or it could be some imposter pretending to send love.
Will have to agree, and will agree, that he is actually not allowed to offer any opinions with respect to manner and cause of death. Only a medical examiner is allowed to do that. And the evidence will show that the medical examiner in this case...
in terms of what goes on the official report, but he can look at them, and I mean, it's basically auditing, right? It's like, okay, we you know, the fact that other experts come in and pass judgment on the official reports is good. It sanity checks them, and it puts them up against scrutiny that if the reports are factual, accurate, truthful, and well, that's enough. Putting it up against scrutiny only serves to further, prove that it's true, right? If you can. Otherwise, it's false. It's a good thing.
The doctor that actually performed the autopsy on Emily Noble's remains, that the only cause of death that that medical examiner found is that injuries to the head and neck caused her death. Injuries, right? Head and neck caused her death.
She didn't shoot her head, did she? Look at her now. Don't do that pose. The jury's gonna look at that and see his hand around her neck. That's no good. Thank God the jury couldn't pause like we just did on that bit. Maybe they won't notice. They happened to be looking away at this bad moment.
Now,
I don't think we're going to get to the first witness today. It's 6 a.m. already. God. Oh my God.
that's what the evidence won't show. And why I led my opening with, why doesn't the state's case make sense? And while it's not my usual practice, this case is unusual in many ways. And so I will, my opening statement, tell the jury, you, each and every one of you, what the defense will put on as evidence. And I say I don't usually do this because I don't have a burden. I, as Matt Moore's attorney, Matt Moore, Alexander Petrella, have to put on nothing. But we will. In fact, we're
Alexander Petrelli, huh? Is that her name? I like that. Italian. Very good.
and lay witnesses. And here's what a brief overview of what our experts will say. First and foremost, we'll call Dr. Bolte. Biomechanics expert, Dr. Bolte is the director at the Ohio State Biomechanics Research Center. He's an expert
There's no such thing.
in the experimental analysis of human injury tolerance.
Experimental means it's not a science, okay? Next. This better not be with some fucking hunter-gathering bullshit. Okay? Experimental. Yeah, we want to see what happens if we dry out wild garlic in the garage. It's experimental. Maybe it'll be curing cancer. We don't know.
And mechanisms under different loading conditions. Here's the value and what you will hear from Dr. Bolte. Undisputed testimony. And it's undisputed because he went to the scene and tested the branch. And he did so at the request of the state of Ohio. And I say this, members of the jury, the evidence will show, again, jury view, when you went down there yesterday and was shown the branch where Emily was found is quite small. Quite small. Dr. Bolte will come in here and say that actually when he went down there, he, as an expert in biomechanics, thought there's no way this branch could hold. But he did two different tests. A static test and a dynamic test.
Yeah, but did you know that she's 100 pounds, soaking wet, 5'2", and really, really tiny? What did he say to the dispatch? My wife is anatomically a very pretty lady. Personality-wise, difficult. Not bad, just difficult.
Dr. Bolte will tell you that, and this is on video, you will see the videos. You will not have to imagine this. You will see the tests. First test is he slowly adds weights, increments of weights, to the branch to see if not only will the branch hold.
Great physical theater that she's doing. Did you see that thing with the weights? That exaggerated, almost exaggerated. I mean, you know, it's good. It's that level of movement. If you can do it in a way that doesn't clash with your speaking, it can really enhance things. Yeah, and definitely does a lot to keep engagement, you know. Way better than what I'm doing now. Yeah, I need to take a few lessons from, what was it? What was it? Alexandra Petroleum. You know. Burn, baby, burn.
But he did two different tests. A static test and a dynamic test. Dr. Bolte will tell you that, and this is on video, you will see the videos. You will not have to imagine this. You will see the tests. First test is he slowly adds weights, increments of weights, to the branch to see if not only will the branch hold, but the rate of deflection of the branch. Static test, branch holds. In fact, the deflection measurement is 2 inches. That's how strong the branch is.
Look at Buzz Fuzz in the back there, not even watching the prosecutor. I mean, he should be taking notes. This is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is a blow me away opening statement or anything. In fact, it's actually quite empty of meaningful facts. But her delivery walked all over the state, and she's got some really good tactics in there. Good system. You know, a lot of theatrics, a lot of movement, a lot of acting out what she's saying, right? A lot of attitude, really. A lot of indignation, you know, pissed off attitude. The state, you know, and rightly so. I mean, They've clearly come in way too heavy given what they had to work with. That showed in the delivery of the opening, I mean, which was essentially him moaning about not being able to read or something. I mean, what was that? It was terrible. That's why he's looking down now. He's just embarrassed about what he did in opening, all right? In front of everyone, in front of the judge, everyone. In front of the world.
Then, after he's tested on the static test, he does a dynamic test. And a dynamic test, the evidence will show, is what happens if someone were to hang themselves and let their weight fall. Could it happen? He takes a crash test dummy, the same weight as Emily Noble, ties a USB cord in the same or similar fashion as Emily tied it around her neck on the 25th of May. It's on video, you will see it. And he takes the crash test dummy and he drops it. That's the bridge. Holds her up. We will also give you the testimony of Dr. Heather Garvin, a forensic anthropologist who is board certified. And board certification, the evidence will show, certainly matters. She's one of 100+ individuals in this country who is a board certified forensic anthropologist. And she will talk about what the state said in their opening with respect to the fractures. Most specifically, the state just told you that there's perimortem nasal fractures. Dr. Garvin will say that in her experience, training, and education, that she sees no perimortem nasal fractures. She will also tell you that based on her training, experience, and expertise, that the bilateral fractures that the state just told you about to the greater horns of the hyoid and the bilateral fractures to the superior horns of the hyoid can occur in hangings. Incomplete and complete hangings. Now, members of the jury, you will not hear from Dr. Garvin cause of death, because she cannot testify as to cause of death. Well, again, only a medical examiner can. But she will tell you about mechanisms of injury. We will also give to you the testimony of Matt Curtin. In the state's opening...
That'll be the final curtain. Matt Curtin's going to come on for a curtain call right at the end and close the show.
I wrote down law enforcement attempts to put together a timeline based on the cell data. We will actually give you a computer scientist who is a cybersecurity expert. All he does is look at cell data and computers and peel back the onion to find what's there. Even when the users want to hide.
Okay, the peel back the onion thing might have gone a little bit overboard. What was that? How do you act out peeling an onion? And why would you need to in court?
Anything. We will actually give you a computer scientist who is a...
Computer scientist? You should bring us a fucking culinary expert to show us how to peel an onion. We want a live fucking, what do you call those, cooking workshop. We're going to show you how to make your own pasta.
Cybersecurity expert. All he does is look at cell data and computers and peel back the onion to find what's there. Even when the users want to hide anything and everything. That's who Matt Curtin is. And Matt will tell you 3 really important things. That again...
Is Matt Curtin a little overweight? He sounds like he might be. All he does is computers and onions.
Show that the state's theories don't make sense. He'll tell you about phone location history for Matt and Emily on May 24th and 25th. He will tell you about patterns of user activity, or more specifically, he will tell you how there are no patterns because there is not enough data. He will also tell you about the user browser history. All this evidence about how Matt is so sophisticated, staging this whole area. What are his browser history searches? What are Emily's browser?
Oh, I can't wait to hear those. How do I get the smell out of my beard? I've been walking around with my beard smelling like sausages for a week. What do I do? Is there a special shampoo? What is his Google search about? How much white bread is too much? Could the lump in my groin be from white bread? We're going to see his search history, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to exonerate him, but also humiliate him publicly. He'll never recover from this, even if he doesn't go to jail forever. Okay? His life is over either way, because we have his Google history. And we're going to show you, and then we're going to show the TV. Years from now, some fucking British guy is going to be sitting in an apartment in Portugal making a video about how much white bread my client ate before murdering his wife.
Browser history searches leading up. Matt will give you that information. But I tell you this now, the evidence will show there is no browser history about how do you kill someone, how do you hang someone, how do you stage a suicide. Nothing. There is some browser history from Emily about going into the woods to find your soul, though. And then in addition, we will also give you Dr. Vidoli, which I talked about from the University of Tennessee. Her entire life's work is studying.
You know what we should do? We should play out with a song for Emily. A nice song for Emily. About finding your soul in the woods or by the sea.
Bodies and their rate of decay and decomposition. In addition to experts, we'll give you some lay witnesses. Again, members of the jury, it's not our burden. But nothing could be more important. And so we will give you the cadaver dog handler. She will come in here and testify and tell you where she searched with her dogs. She will tell you what a cadaver dog is trained to do. She will tell you the expertise and certification of her dogs. And she will tell you that they found nothing. We will give you other testimony. We propose members of the jury, but I remind you that we have no burden. And maybe it sounds a bit like a broken record that I say that, but there is no such thing when it comes to a case like this. The burden is here. It is the highest burden in the land. This is a criminal case. Reasonable doubt is based on reason and common sense. On behalf of Matt Moore and
Reasonable doubt is a doubt based on reason and doubt.
co-counsel, I am confident that after you have heard all the evidence, that you will render the appropriate verdicts of not guilty. Thank you so much.
Thank you, counsel. Statement called.
Thank you, counsel. Loved it.
Yeah, it's still called Amy Thomas.
Okay, Amy Thomas is the sister of Emily Noble that we'll hear from tomorrow. For now, we're going to play out with Emily Noble, The Lost Soul. Thank you for coming. Thank you for chatting, super coffee go-getting, super sticker giving, super bulletproof metrics moderating. And no fights today. We had a little tussle. Someone was going on about, I don't know, Canadian gender. I mean, that's always been a question to me, because they all seem like hermaphrodites anyway in Canada, don't they? It's a joke. Calm down. Calm down. David Bowie was Canadian. And so was Grace Jones. Think about it.